What's going on, guys? Welcome back to your Lake Fork Guide. Man, there's been some chaos going on in the bass fishing world around a new bait, and it has been hush-hush for a little while. The cat's out of the bag. Y'all know I tend to suffer from diarrhea of the mouth. I can't keep no secrets around here, so I'm about to tell you guys everything you need to know, give you a complete guide on how to actually go catch big bass using these new big fancy dice bait, or as I like to call them, the fuzzy balls. My newest name for them that I think is going to stick is my newest name, the old woolly booger. Let's break it down.
Y'all see that gitchy looking thing in there? I'm just telling y'all, that is the big deal. Like the next, like really big deal. That's it right there. Insanely cold weather we've been having. Tough fishing, very tough fishing. That fish, I apologize for not turning the camera on time, but I wish I had it on the screen. That fish sprinted off that tree to eat that damn bait as soon as it hit the water. It was wild, dude. Like, this thing is crazy. This bait is crazy.
So this right here is the bait that has the bass fishing world in a chokehold. Like, it's got everybody's attention right now. If you're paying attention to anything, it's winning hundreds of thousands of dollars. Pake South just won Sam Rayburn Bassmaster Open on it. Right before that, a smaller size, smaller fish on Lake Martin. Fisher and I won on this koiki bait. The Hide Up Koiki. This is the big one's called the Full Cast. They have the 17 millimeter and 13 millimeter. I believe the smallest one is the one that was used to win on Lake Martin. And you look at this bait and you're like, what in the hell? I mean, I can't tell you, every time I have a customer on my boat and I have this bait out, I get asked, what do you think it imitates? Nothing. It doesn't imitate anything. And we'll get into that some tonight and kind of why do they bite it? Why do I think they bite it? We're going to tell you how to fish it, the gear to rig it on, how to work it in the water to get those bites from those pressured fish. I think that's the big deal with that is these are really, really good on pressured fish, which is, for most of us, that's what matters most. Because we're going to go fish Lake Fork, we're going to go fish Sam Rayburn, we're going to go fish those Alabama lakes, wherever you're going to fish at. If you're going to a good, reputation lake, a lake that has a good reputation, you're going to fish for pressured fish. And this deal is the cat's meow for getting fish to pay attention when they won't pay attention to anything else. It has something to it. We're going to break it down tonight. The other question I get asked a whole bunch, and I've even been asked this by other guides, is it really good? Like, is the bait that legit? Like, do they bite it? Yes, they bite it. Yes, I can vouch for that personally. I know some guys that have really been whacking them on it for a long time. And the only reason I haven't made this video yet is out of respect to some of those guys. Well, now, the cat's out of the bag. You don't want to take your buddy that's got a bait that, wasn't really publicly known until very recently. You don't want to put that on blast, right? And to be honest with you, I didn't start fishing it until fairly recently myself over this winter when I really dug in and really tried to get a lot better at scoping. This bait was one of the things that I started fiddling with and playing with. And, man, there's different ones out there. And I've thrown, several different ones. That koiki is the one, right? Like, it's the one that the tour guys are throwing the most. It's the one that's got everybody's attention the most. But there's other ones out there. There's a lot now. And there's, every new tackle maker, hand pour guy seems to be making their own version of it. We're going to talk about one of those tonight and kind of talk about the benefits of that and the drawbacks of that. This right here is a depths, okay? And here's what I will tell you about these baits that's important. This is the depths, prickly pear. Okay, here's the deal. The stiffness of the arms. Can you see a difference here? Can you see? I mean, if you have these two in person in your hand, like, it looks pretty good from that angle, but like, there's a difference in the stiffness of the arms. Those arms have to stand out against a little bit of water pressure. Like, you want there to be resistance when you move that bait in the water. And here's why that is so important. When you're twitching this bait in the water, and we're going to talk about how to snap it later, but you're going to snap this bait. What the stiffer the arms are, okay, it moves water. Like, if the arms just fold down, it just kind of comes through the water. It doesn't move as much water. If the arms are stiffer and it provides resistance, it moves a lot more water. Okay, so a lot more pressure change in around that fish. It also actually creates, you can see it on your scope, creates a bubble trail. When you snap it right, man, you'll pop it and bubbles come up behind it. To me, I think that has some drawing power, right? I think that matters. I think that's a big deal when you're talking about what draws these fish to this bait. The other part about it is, the more resistance you have from the stiff arms, the longer the bait stays in the fish's face, right? Like, if the arms fold and when I snap the bait, it moves 6 inches, well, it just pulled 6 inches away, versus I give the same snap, stiffer arms, and it moves 2 inches. Well, that bait is 4 inches closer to the fish. I think that is a huge deal, maybe the biggest deal in selecting which woolly booger you want to pick. I think the biggest deal is how stiff the arms are, and I think the biggest reason is the more resistance you have on the arms, the tighter it stays to that fish. The more you can get snap, get some violent, sharp action, some reactive action without taking the bait away from the fish as much. I think that is, to me, that's the biggest deal on bait selection. When it comes to stiff arms, there ain't one better than this, boys. And this is the one. This is the reason why this is the one all the tour guys are throwing. Yes, it's hard to get. Good luck finding them. Like, it ain't easy, but this is the one. I got quite a few. And I've got more on the way. I've got more on the way that I just ordered the other day from an obscure website, you might say. But I've got some, they may not even be quickies. I might get some fake stuff in the mail. I don't know. But I got some supposed to come next week in the mail. We'll see what I get when it gets here. But the Koike, the Hide-Up Koike Full Cast. Now, that's the big one, okay? There's different sizes. The Koike makes the big one, full cast, which is like 20 or 20-something millimeters. And then they have, that's the size of the ball. And then the 17 millimeters, kind of the middle size, and they have the 13 millimeter little one. I see, like on Lake Martin, they were throwing the little one. Fisher and I was throwing the little one to win. And that makes sense because they're catching a bunch of 2-pound fish. They don't have a lot of big. On fork, I will tell you right now, I'm sure there's going to be a time to throw the smaller one. On Lake Fork, they pay a lot more attention to the big one. And the cool thing about this is when you're scoping with it, for sure, like, man, you can target bigger fish. Mostly it's going to be pretty good sized fish. Now, I have seen and have heard of 2 to 3 pound fish eating this thing, but most of the fish on Lake Fork that I've seen get drawn to this are 5+. Like, they're big ones. They're big ones. They're good ones. So that's what I want as a guide. Some of you guys that fish tournaments and want unders on our slot limit lake may not be the deal for you. Maybe the little one will work for you in that case. What I will tell you, in my personal opinion, right now, as far as which one to pick, if you're going for the big one, a big ball, this is the best one. The prickly pear, I've caught fish on it. It will get bit. This one has a lot more drawing power and works, seems to get a lot better reaction from the fish. So the big size, I'm pretty on the Koike Hide-Up. Now, there's some local guys making some, right? There's some different local guys around the country making these garage pour, hand pour guys. There's a buddy of mine. He's been on the channel a couple times. I've fished with him a couple times on the channel. His name's John Maxfield. Dude's an old East Texas, like, kind of under the radar hammer. Like, guy can catch them and understands baits and how they work and all that stuff. He recently started making his own baits a couple years ago just for personal use. Of course, as it always seems to do with these guys that know what they're doing, it has developed into other people want his baits. And so now this is the hat I'm wearing, Evolve Tackle. Okay, don't even have a website yet. You can go follow them on Facebook, message them on Facebook, and they will make custom orders of a lot of different plastics. But one of them, this is one of his balls. Now, see how stiff the arms are? Okay, and that's after it was been sitting down in the bottom of my boat for days. Like, I've been tying this off and on of different rods and different things. And so this bait has been on this hook for like a week. That's one thing about these baits. Yes, they're expensive, but man, they hold up. Like, the Koike's made of elastomer. That stuff is tough as nails. It's really, really tough. I've got one rigged up on a rod. We're going to show you here in a minute how we rig it. This little one that John makes over at Evolve Tackle, very tough, very durable. They hold up. You don't really lose them. Like, unless you break it off. If a fish bites, wraps you around a tree or a brush pile and breaks you off, you're going to lose it. Other than that, you're not really going to lose them. If you get hung up in a tree or something, you can't get it out and you break it off. If you don't break it off, like, the bait's not flying off there. You're not tearing that bait up. I cannot imagine how many fish you would have to catch on one of these to actually tear it up. So even though they are pricey, the durability is great. They last a long, long time. So like I said, for the little ones, if you can't find the koi keys, find you a local builder. But make sure when you see their baits, when they're hanging in here, those arms better be standing straight out, right? These are John's Evolved Tackle. Those arms better be standing out straight. If those arms are floppy, it ain't going to work near as good, okay? You want stiff arms on your woolly boogers, boys. That's the deal. All right, let's talk about how to rig it. Okay, now, I'm not going to lie, I had some help on this. And there's guys rigging it on Jika rigs, like some of the Japanese guys. That's how the Japanese guys are. A lot of them are doing Jika rigs, whatever that is. It's like a drop shot weight tied to the eye of your hook. It's kind of weird. There's guys, wacky, putting it on a big wacky hook and putting a nail weight in it. On the big one, I got one rigged up right here on the rod. It's what I've been fishing with day in, day out. Okay, so you see I got a treble hook there, and this is actually rigged the wrong way on a treble hook because I think this is how most people are hooking it, right? So I got a nail weight in there first of all. So if you see in here, there's a metal rod going through that bait, okay? If you've seen one in person, you know what I'm talking about. That is a nail weight that I stuck in that hole that metal rod came out of. I just took a 3/32 nail weight, put as much of it as I could, and cut off the rest that was sticking out, right? So got about 2/3 of a 3/32 nail weight in there, okay? Now, I went and got the biggest treble hook I had. I pulled it off a big old glide bait is what I did. I don't know what size. For the full cast, treble hook, I like to rig them with a treble hook. If you're going to do that, you want a big one. I don't know treble hook sizes very well at all, okay? I will judge them by the bait that they are on, right? The bait that they're on is how I judge treble hook. So for the big one, man, I'll be honest with you, I don't know that you could get too big of a treble hook for this big one. Like maybe if you have some big giant catfish hook or something, or some, gar hook or something. But like as far as bass fishing baits go, get the biggest treble hook you can find. It's not too big. Here's what happens when you rig this bait on treble hook. So if you rig it like this, okay, where I've got a point, I've just kind of got it skin hooked in there, and I got the point sticking out. You want to make sure you pull that bait as far back as you can to get as much of this hook point exposed if you're going to leave all three prongs out. The reason why, this bait's going to fall, the weight is going to weigh it down, or the hook is going to weigh it down, right? So the nail weight's going right through the middle, so the off balance is going to be the hook. So it's going to be like this. So that, excuse me, when that fish bites it, that single hook point that's in your bait is what's going to be up. And you're most likely, when you leave that hook point exposed, you're going to hook them in the top of the mouth, which is great, but you're going to get them on that, right? So now, if I had more meat of this ball, like if this hook was deeper into this ball before I turned it out and I had less of this hook point and barb exposed, if you've seen me lose them on camera, that's what was happening. I'm hooking them with the top barb because of the weight of it. I'm hooking them on top of the mouth, but I'm barely getting it in there because of how much hook I had in the ball. So if you're going to do it like this, I barely put any. I hope it's showing up on camera. I just, inside the skin's all I do. There's not much meat of that ball on that hook. The good news is the elastomer is so tough, it holds it really, really well. Now, every once in a while, if that thing starts sliding around this way, it starts getting close to your barb, right? You better fix it. You want that ball rotated all the way to the bottom of all three of those treble prongs as much as you can is what you want there, okay? The proper way to rig it, the best way to rig it, and John told me this, and so kudos to John, and I will tell you that Pake South appears to be rigging it this way, okay? So the best way to rig this, god dang, them hooks are hard to get out of there. Once you got that plastic's tough on them. The proper way to rig this, okay, is to put the treble hook into the meat of the ball. So the prong that you're sticking in the bait is not exposed. It is in the ball, right? It's not coming out at all. God dang, these things are tough, and you got to be careful not to poke through and get your thumb. But what you want to do is do that, and then you want to put some super glue right there at the bottom. So now that treble hook prong is in the bait. Once you put super glue on there, it will not come off. I've seen it with John's baits. Like you can't physically pull it off. Like it's crazy how it sticks on there. So now I've got these two prongs riding on the back, right? Now what's going to happen? That's still going to weigh it down. The drawback to this is you're going to hook fish in the bottom of the mouth. Now, hook up and landing ratios are an issue on this bait, especially the really big one. Like it's a real issue, okay? So lots of guys are losing lots of fish on these things. And if you listen to Tour Pros talk about it over the last year, the ones that have talked about it some, that is something they've complained about and talked about at length. The hookup and landing ratio is an issue, okay? If you do it like this, yes, you will hook them in the bottom lip most of the time. Go look at the pictures of Pake South where he's landing fish, and you can see this sticking out of their mouth. It's in the bottom. It's in the bottom lip, okay? That's where it is. And the reason why, like we said, the hook falls beneath the bait because of the weight of it. So when you hook that fish, it catches them in that bottom lip, all right? Now, that being said, once you got that, you've got 2 prongs of a treble. Okay, a lot of times you're getting both prongs into that fish. You got no weight. The plastic and the hook don't weigh anything hardly. And so your landing ratio becomes very, very high. Very, very high in that situation. From what I've seen and what other guys have told me, mostly John Maxwell. So credit to him for that. The only other way that I've seen to rig it, and I thought about this, and then I had a buddy of mine tell me he was doing it like this, and I think this would work too. If you got you a big old like 5/0 just showing up flipping hook, and you just skin hook that in there like I showed y'all originally with the treble, right? Where you just skin hook it through and get as much of that. So you can take a 5/0 flipping hook, skin hook it in there, and roll that thing to the back and dab a little super glue underneath it so it doesn't slide back down the hook. Now you've got a full flipping hook exposed. I think that would be a good way to do it. Because then you can rig it on, I'm rigging it on big line and big rod. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. But you can rig that on big rod and you can just hammer down. As long as you pop them with that hook, you got them. Like you got them. They're not going nowhere. So I think a big 5/0 flipping hook in there is a good way to do it too. I haven't tried that myself yet. I do know a guy that's been catching them on it for a long time. That's how he rigs it. So there you go. That's the rigging of the bait. And that's probably the biggest topic of discussion amongst even the top tour guys is how do we rig this thing and get our landing ratio up? Because it's an issue with this. And I think the treble hook buried 1 prong, 2 prongs exposed is really good. I think that flipping hook deal is pretty good too, from what I've heard. Rod-wise, man, throw it on like a flipping rod. Like anything from like a 7.3 to a 7.6 heavy action. If you want to go down to medium heavy, you can, but to help you cast it a little better, if you're having a hard time casting it, if you're fishing a full cast, you can cast it. Now, I will say, if you're going into a little bit of wind with a full cast and a nail weight and a hook, you're probably only going to cast at about 60 feet, right? Like that's where I'm maxing out. It's about 60 feet. And on the little one as well, I'm just rigging it on a smaller rod. But on the big one, rigging it on a heavy action rod, 7.3 to 7.5, 7.6, anything in there's fine. I got a 7.4 heavy I rig it on, kind of my jig rod, and it casts okay. 20-pound line, hammer down, horse them to the boat. That's the other thing. When you drop the hammer on these, you're twitching, you see them bite it, reel up your slack, bust them in the head, reel them in just like a jig bite, right? Like that part's cool about it. I do like that. So, and I think in the beginning when I was losing fish with the exposed treble prong, I wasn't hammering them as hard as I should have been too. Like that was a lesson I had to learn the hard way. On the little one, I actually go down to a 7-foot medium heavy rod to throw that, and I throw it on 12-pound line, which is maybe a little light. Probably should go 15, but 12-pound line's fine. Been getting by with that on the little one. I haven't really caught a lot of fish on the little one. Like I said, I fish fork predominantly. Most of my days are on fork. The fish on fork don't respond to that little one the way they do the big one. So we spend the vast majority of our time when we're throwing the old woolly booger, we're throwing the big woolly booger. You know what I'm saying? So, when I do fish the little one, other lakes such as that, I'm fishing it on 7-foot medium heavy, 12-pound fluorocarbon, rigging it the same way, hammering it the same way, fishing it the same way. Let's talk about how to fish it, right? Because that's kind of the other like cat's meow. Like that's the juice, the top secret stuff. Man, don't be scared to snap this thing violently. Now, I don't mean reel up to the end of your slack and pull it. What I mean is snap your slack hard. Like if you watch some of these tour guys, you watch Pake doing it. You watch Koya Fujita from last year on fork. He was throwing, this is what he was throwing on fork last year was this right here, the hide up full cast koiki ball. Man, they are snapping that thing. And they're snapping that slack, and that bait's causing a lot of bubbles and disturbance, but it's not really going anywhere because of the resistance of those stiff arms like we talked about earlier. But hard snaps, pop, pop, and throw it in there, watch it fall. I always like to throw it just a little bit past my fish. It does tend to kind of drift back towards you because it is so light and it falls so slow, especially like I'm usually facing into the wind when I'm scoping. So if there's any wind, the bait is going to drift back towards me just a little bit. So like if I got a fish, if here's a tree on my scope and I got to fish it on this tree, I like to enter the water back here, just 5 feet or so, kind of drift towards that fish. And even if it is a little behind him, I can always, once I'm, 4 or 5 feet above his head, I can twitch it right above him and let it fall. right? I can see it on my scope, snap, 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 till I get it right where I want it, and then let it fall right on his head. I do like to let it fall as close to him as possible. So snapping it when it gets to him is a big deal. I like, the first time I snap it, I like it to be a little bit above him. What I prefer to see is ideally fish is here, blob's here, bait's falling, the fish is going to start swimming to the bait before it gets to him. When you see that, before they get to it, when they're a couple of feet from it, a foot from it, pop, snap it. If they follow it, keep snapping, pop, pop, pop. If they're chasing it, kind of the faster you snap it, the more fired up they get, the more likely they are to bite it. Now, at some point, you do have to pause it and let them eat it, but a lot of times you'll just be snapping and they'll just swim up, bam, they'll hammer down on it, right? Like while you're snapping it. So if you watch carefully some of these tour guys fishing it, you'll see that exact thing happen to them. But the snaps need to be hard. Like, yes, you're just snapping to the end of your slack. You don't want to pull the bait towards you a whole bunch, but it is whop, whop, whop. Like it's hard snaps, guys. And you'll hear that line popping if you watch those guys do it, okay? The other thing that's kind of a secret that I haven't even talked to anybody about this. This is just what I figured out in my boat, okay? And I may have some of these guys tell me I'm wrong because so many guys preach on live sonar fishing to keep the bait above them, keep it going away from them, make them chase it. Especially with jerk baits and minnows and all that, you hear all that all the time, right? Well, I have found that there are times, if you're throwing at them and they're kind of looking at it and just kind of slowly following it, like sometimes you'll snap it and they'll zip, snap, zip, right? Like sometimes you'll snap and they'll just kind of ease up to it. You snap and they'll just kind of ease up to it, right? They'll just kind of slowly come along with it. On days when they're more lethargic, when they're not just, it takes a few fish to kind of get a good read on because sometimes it's just that fish is being lazy or lethargic or not that interested, and the next fish will be hot on it and go get it, right? But when I start seeing a few fish be kind of lethargic in how they follow the bait around, I have found that I can catch fish on this actually letting it get below them. Now, that's not normal for forward-facing sonar stuff. With this bait, like with a minnow, I've never caught a fish on a minnow when it goes below. Never. Never, ever. In fact, I'm not that great of a minnow fisherman, and one of my worst habits is I get the bait on the fish, like even with the fish too often and even below sometimes. I got to really get better at keeping that bait above them and having faith that when that fish wants it, he'll chase it and come get it. With this, though, I've had some of my biggest bites come, and I found this out by accident, like on a windy day when I couldn't quite keep my bait and the fish on the screen because I'm fighting the wind as well. And my bait accidentally falls below the fish, and then I get back on it, and that fish is going down with it. Next thing I know, while that bait's just falling below it, that fish swims down there and bites it. Or even just stopping it, because if you just tighten your line, that bait will just stop and kind of float. Even just stopping it, hovering it even right in front of their face and leaving it still. Like days when they're lethargic, you can just kind of hang this bait in their face and not really do anything with it, not snap it. And they'll just come eat it while it's sitting still or just slowly falling like it does. If you've ever seen these baits in water, these arms, I know especially on this one right here, this custom pour that John does at Evolve Tackle, right? On that one, for sure, I've seen that one a million times in water, and like it vibrates. When it's falling, when it's just sitting there, any little water pressure, those little arms are just vibrating, right? Koika does the same thing. It vibrates as it sits there. And I think when fish are more lethargic, that is an action you can't get anywhere else. And it is a bite that you're not going to get with any other bait. Like there's no other bait that's going to make that fish bite the way this woolly booger will. And I think that's what makes it so special. Like this is exciting, Like I remember when the Whopper Plopper wasn't really known about yet. I had it a little early on Fork before Chris Lane. Caught him on Toledo Bend on it, but even after Chris Lane caught him on Toledo Bend for that year, my gosh, that Whopper Plopper. I mean, it was so good. Insanely good. Alabama Rig, I wasn't guiding them, but when Alabama Rig first hit with Paul Elias on Gunnersville, we all ran out and bought everything we could. I managed to get a couple at Academy. They only had a couple left, but I had those big Alabama Rigs, those big awkward ones we had early days, those old mans. I had them early, and dude, that was crazy, the way they bit that Alabama Rig. And these things happen every once in a while in this industry. Chatterbait was another one that was like this. And Cinco, I'm sure back in the day, I wasn't around for those days. I think I was in the Marine Corps when that all happened, but I'm sure Cinco was the same way. This bait is special. It's going to catch them for a good long while. It may not catch them as good eventually, but the drawing power of this bait and the way they bite it when it's just sitting still, the way they pursue it when they won't pursue other baits, I don't see this really being a fad. I think this is going to be the thing I compare it to. It's kind of like, to me, it's like the new Cinco, man. Like it's very similar to how you fish a Cinco. You let it hover in their face. It stays there a long time. You twitch it, sudden, subtle twitches, draw them to it, get them to trigger and bite it. It really is, to me, a lot like a new Cinco. And I think it can be that good. I think it might be. Right now, it is that good, for sure. This is the best thing going right now. But it's going to be a lot of fun to throw this bait while it lasts. While you get your hands on them, I guess you should say. The old woolly booger, man. Listen, that's patent pending right here. That's patent pending for your Lake Fork guy, but actually fished with a couple of Van locals today, and one of them was old JP. For those around Van, the old heads, they know old John Pickett. And I pulled that thing out today, and he goes, "What the hell?" He's like, "That looked like an old woolly booger. What is that thing?" I said, "That's a perfect name is what that is. That's the woolly booger. That's what it is." So, yeah, that's what I'll be calling it in my boat going forward. Man, I hope this helps you guys. I hope you catch a lot of fish on it. It's going to be a lot of fun to play with this year, especially if you got forward-facing sonar. One more thing. Let's talk about this real quick. What about you take this bait right here, right? This little, just hear me out. Just hear me out. Springtime's coming up. Topwater bite's coming up, right? Take this bait right here. You put a not so big treble hook in it, or however you want to rig it, but rig it, no nail weight, fairly weightless, where it can stay tight to the surface. You throw it, it goes just on the surface, and you just pop, pop, pop. That's not forward-facing sonar. I'm not talking about fishing. You just snap it. Subsurface, snap, pause, snap, pause, snap, pause. Snap, snap, pause. Change your cadence, whatever you want to do. Get pressured fish. They ain't seen it before. Like, I've seen the way these fish are drawn to this thing on sonar. I think when you get fish up shallow and they're biting the topwater, I think that might be a deal right there. In fact, if you go listen, do your research, you will find out that the man that created this bait designed it to be fished like that as a topwater. Or just subsurface, like right around the surface. That was what it was originally designed for. So, a little more top secret juice. Where else do you get this information, folks? I haven't seen anybody make a video where they divulge all the details of exactly how to rig it, how to catch them. Blah, blah, blah. I haven't seen a video on this like that yet. So maybe it's out there. I don't watch all the bass fishing videos in the world, but I haven't personally seen one. I hope this is the best one you've seen. I tried to do it as good as I could and give you all that I know. I probably forgot a few things. If I do, I'll try to remember to come back and put them on here at a later date, man. We'll see you guys next time, right here on your Lake Fork Guy.